Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. And during this difficult time, we are not recording in our usual CUNY TV studio. So I welcome you to my home office, and I am thrilled to welcome our guest, Juliana Richardson, who is the founder and the executive director of History Makers. Juliana, thanks so much for being with us today.
I'm so glad to be here, Carol. It took the coronavirus to get us together.
I know. I've been chasing Juliana for years now. I've been such a fan of the work that she's doing. History Makers, if you don't know about it, is this tremendous, huge archive of oral histories by Black Americans. And Juliana, tell us a little bit about it. I know that this is your 20th year and you have a goal for 5,000 interviews. Where are you in that
Okay,
search?
so we've grown, Carol, for you and your audience, we've grown to be the nation's largest African-American video oral history archive. And we're 20 years old this year. So back in 2000, February of 2000, we started doing interviews, and we've done interviews in 413 cities and towns across the United States, a
Right.
total of 3,400.
30, so you're at 3,400 now.
That's right.
Oh my,
11,000 hours of testimony.
oh my gosh.
And so it's been an amazing experience. I can't describe it any more than that.
I know. Well, we've got a clip I want to play of Danny Glover talking a little bit about History Makers. Let's take a look at that, and we'll resume our conversation on the other side.
The History Makers, an archive of 5,000 African Americans who made a difference. There's something everyone can appreciate in these stories. It's about education. It's about our legacy. It's also about telling our story and about correcting American history before it's too late.
So, Juliana, one of the first things that we always ask our guests, and here you have created this huge, tremendous, that is now housed at the Library of Congress, we should say, archive. You started out with another life, another career. Tell us a little bit about you and Black America. We always ask our guests to place themselves, and you had a somewhat unusual trajectory to this archival life.
Yes, I do. You know, that clip that just played made me very nostalgic because that was the first program that we had where Harry Belafonte, who just gifted his papers to the Schomburg Library,
Right.
Was interviewed by Danny Glover, and so that was the launch of us in November of 2000. So my background is unusual in a lot of ways. I really wanted to have a career in the theater. I'm born in a small coal mining town near Pittsburgh, and grew up there, and then moved to another small town called Newark, Ohio, like New Jersey, but in Ohio. Lived there for some time, and then went off to perform. I love the theater, and was given a scholarship to Interlochen Arts Academy. Went there, then went into as a theater major to Brandeis University, where I majored in theater arts and American studies. And I say that in many ways, my project had a beginning both in Newark, but also at Brandeis, because
Brandeis,
that's when I was doing research on the Harlem Renaissance.
Right.
Went there with the famous librarian Jean Hudson. She waited on me too.
I knew Jean. She was tremendous when she was at the Schomburg, right?
So yeah, so I remember it like it was yesterday, actually,
right.
Because it was a fall day. We're in spring now, but a fall day, and the leaves were brown, and I'm just listening to a song called "I'm Just Wild About Harry," thinking at the time that it was about Harry Truman, because that's what I associated with but it was from the
Right.
1921
Right.
production of Buffalo.
Right, right. But now there was a stop at Harvard Law School too in your career. In
Yeah.
your career.
So what happened is after that, because I decided that I liked theater as an art form and not necessarily as a profession, and my father always wanted me to be a lawyer, and so I went off to Harvard Law School and thought that I could manage people. If I wasn't going to be an artist myself, then I could represent artists. And that didn't work. But anyway, I ended up in Chicago representing some theaters there.
Right.
And then went on, practiced corporate and commercial law for 2 years, and then was representing also. Then I started to get involved in cable television and was the cable administrator for the city. And then politics had me out. I'm sitting without a job. And the stories that I had, the people who I'd interviewed back when I was doing that research at the Schomburg Library, who were Butterfly McQueen, who was living up in Harlem and had starred in Gone with the Wind, Lee Whipper, who was the oldest living actor at the time, tap dancer Honey Coles, historian John Henrik Clark. Those interviews came back to me. I don't know how to say it other than that. And
Right. So then you figured out a way to, and one of the things I love about your archives is that they are not of only the rich and famous. They are of the people who made America, who happen to be Black Americans. And so you don't have to be famous to be in your, in your archives.
Well, we believe that it's really important. What the goal was to really document the Black experience through the lives of people who've lived the history that they spoke of. I mean, Carol, you're one of our history makers and one of the people that we've interviewed.
And I'm so thrilled. I want you to know one of the highlights was the day that I received your oral history is in the Library of Congress. I went dancing around showing my grandchildren that I had gotten this. So thank you so much for including me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was important that we create a documentary record of the Black experience. The thing about archives, they sound old and dusty and not of much use, things sort of hidden from view. And what I would envision was that we would combine state-of-the-art technology with traditional oral history interviews. So, and out of that, we merge, or is emerging, a new and more accurate history. So museums showcase history, archives preserve the history to be showcased. So that is, that's it. And the Library of Congress came into our life 6 years ago. They were as delighted as we were. But we turned over to them at that point 9,000 hours testimony. And what was critically important was that they also are the place where that houses the WVA slave narratives. And so with 2 collections under one roof, you have the stories.
Just amazing. But now I saw you, I think it was in January of this year at the Ford Foundation at an announcement of a brand new wave of recordings, because you realized at a certain point when you were looking at all of these interviews that you had done of business people and social activists and writers and all, that the representation of women was not what you wanted it to be. So talk to us a little bit about that, and then I want to show a clip of some of your women.
So that, I won't say that I was surprised. It was something that I was aware of, but the number became so large. And so we have 800 less women than we have men.
800.
800.
Mm.
So if there were, like, we were able to get John Johnson, but we were not able to get Eunice. We were able to
Mm.
get George Johnson, and it would go on and on like
Right.
that. And so that therein lied the problem. And that was a magical day that we experienced at the Ford Foundation.
Right, the Ford Foundation. Ursula Burns, who gave you a very sizable gift to make sure that you would be able to go out and record more women. But let's have a sample of History Makers Women. Let's take a look at that, just so you can see some of the kinds of women that Juliana has managed to get documented on for history through all times. Let's take a quick look at that.
I kind of am who I am, and if there's two things that I can't change, and even if I could, I probably wouldn't. One is being a woman, and the second is being black. Those two things I kind of like. I think they're pretty cool.
I'm an African American woman. When I get up every morning and look in the mirror, I see an African American woman, and that's very much my heritage and very much who I am. So I can't say it's harder or easier being one or the other, because I am both, and I always will be both.
I never would have thought that I would have heard myself say that there's more of an issue with being a woman than there is an issue being black. As a black woman, I never would have thought I would have heard myself say that.
Los Angeles SNCC fell apart because of the gender battles and the battles over politics as well. But the gender battle was very central. And I say it was a battle around gender. It wasn't a battle between the genders. The catalyst for this battle happened when someone involved at the national level came out to visit the chapter and did not like the fact that there were women in leadership.
Black feminism is a lens. It's a framework for understanding the world, including African American experience. It's a battle that we continue to wage. There are loads of folk who think the black feminism is irrelevant.
And when you think of the black woman, all the change that they are available, she has on her legs: economic, political, social, you name it. And until we release all of these chains off of her legs, we will not have the freedom for any of us that we think we're entitled to.
Toughest part of my first year in the NBA was just all the scrutiny. I really personally felt like people were expecting me to fail. They just knew it was going to happen. They just knew that I wouldn't make it, that I didn't have the intestinal fortitude, I was a woman, I was too soft, I wasn't quick enough, I couldn't keep up. And I said, all the naysayers, I will silence you with my ability to just do my job.
And I came to work one day, and there was a little note at my little workspace someone had left for me helpfully that said, "Nigger, go home." And when I saw that note, I remember thinking to myself, okay, wonder who this is for. Because I'd been raised in a way that nobody would have called me that name, so this couldn't be for me. And it's interesting to me, thinking back on it, that that was my first response, because that told you a lot about who I was. But my second response was, oh, this must be for me. But I'm not going to go in a corner and cry. I'm not going to go and angrily complain. So I kind of innocently walked to my boss and said, look what I found.
So Juliana, an extraordinary list of women, and you can watch the full clip of some of these tremendous women on our Facebook page, the Black America Facebook page. We'll play the whole thing, and other videos as well. So what was the conversation like with Ursula Burns, who was the former, head of Xerox, a powerful businesswoman, to come forward and with the Ford Foundation create this women's section of History Makers?
Well, we had gotten to know Ursula when we had honored her in an evening with Ursula Burns. That's when I first became aware of her. And we had this problem. I mean, we didn't have, we had this problem. And it was across all categories. And
Right.
I explained to her that, I explained to her the issue, and I we were having trouble finding funding to address the issue, and she stepped forward.
I think it was $1 million. She gave you $1 million?
$1 million.
$1 million.
Ecstatic.
Ecstatic. Now, I have seen, you mentioned earlier the evening with, you've done several of those, you know, that are aired on PBS. I was in the audience for the Frank Thomas tribute, which was extraordinary, but you've done, you know, so many of them, Eartha Kitt and Ruby Dee. I mean, just an extraordinary number of these larger pieces that you use your archive for. And I was also at the African American Museum when for the screening of Boss, the Stanley Nelson film. Talk to us a little bit about that, because that was a full-fledged documentary based on your archive.
Yeah, how that even came about, Boss, was just really wonderful, because we had been, you know, we just lost Earl Graves, and Earl Graves was absolutely critical to us. But someone had approached me from PBS asking, did we have any subjects? And I said no one had really done a good job, or done even the history of Blacks in business. And then a woman named Leslie Norman went and approached PBS, and then Stanley Nelson was brought in as the producer, and it's a seminal piece.
Right. It's a great, and that DVD is available so that you can order that extraordinary sweep. I was there with my granddaughter at the museum to witness our our Uncle A.G. Gaston being a part of that history. So we thank you.
Think about the rich history that you come from, because he was one of the most seminal. A.G. Gaston is what we refer to as a change agent. You know, and as we often are looking at our you know, in the historical lens, we're looking for those people who were change agents.
Right. So tell us who you say. I saw you at Martha's Vineyard a couple of years ago, where you were set up to do these interviews, and you go all across the country to do them. Tell us a little bit about what the research is like, and how you get the honorees there for the interviews, and how long it takes to do each interview.
Yeah, so our process, so we do what are called life oral history interviews. The interviews are typically divided into 4 parts. We do research on each person that we interview. The outline can last, 20 to 30 pages in length. We try to spend a lot of time on context. And then our scheduler contacts the person and asks them to sign a release form, and then the interviews average, 3 to 4 or 5 hours in length. The longest interview in the collection is 15 hours.
Wow, who is that? 15 hours?
So that was Reverend Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we only really got to 1984. Unfortunately, he has Parkinson's.
Yes. So 15 hours, but it's still extraordinary that you have housed at the Library of Congress some of these interviews that are 4 hours long of a person's life and contributions.
It's incredibly important because what is being debated in society now is who has value and who doesn't. And you really do not have value if you don't have documentary evidence of your value. And as I speak, and the subject that I've been talking about on Martha's Vineyard is about people's papers. And by that I mean what people collect along the way in their life. Represents them, that represents also significant documentary evidence. It may be photos, it may be speeches, it may be, audio cassette recordings, it's all those things.
Now, are you collecting those as well at the Library of Congress, or how does that work?
We are planning to start working to digitize those collections, because otherwise, less than 1% of the people we had interviewed had any repository for their papers. And it is of paramount worry and concern. It's probably what I think about most, because we only have about 10 or 15 years left before we lose very significant parts of our 20th century history. And that's really why our theme for our 20th anniversary is preserving 20th century African American collections with 21st century solutions.
Right, and if everything goes well, the celebration is scheduled for November at the Library of Congress.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And we have, already gathered about 600 people and sort of a star-studded group of presenters.
Right.
But the most important thing is we want to tell stories out of the collection. We want people to see how rich the collection is.
Your reaction to what happened to the ebony trove of photographs and information, is that a cautionary tale, although in the end salvaged by foundations, was on the auction block, and so much of that history could have been lost?
Yeah, that's, Carol, you point to what I was referencing. I mean, I got almost physically sick at the thought that we would have lost that collection. It's 5 million photographs. And John Johnson had the presence of mind and the Ebony Johnson Publishing family to do that. But we got saved in the nick of time, and thanks to Darren Walker and Elizabeth Alexander and the National African American Museum and Getty Museum, we're going to be okay.
Right. And of course, many people noted that there were, African American heads of those foundations that made 2 of the 3 foundations that made that happen. So
think about it. It would not have happened if they
it would not have happened. And I know that you work with schools too. A lot of this information is available, for our kids, which is so extraordinary.
Yeah, our focus has always been education from the very inception. We don't edit our interviews; they're available, and we've been lucky to have a wonderful partner in Carnegie Mellon University who has worked with us for 17 years. As our tech partner, and they've created this wonderful digital archive. So not only are the interviews, housed at the Library of Congress, but they're made offered on a digital archive that now is hosted in the cloud. And if people are, like, I talked to a friend the other day who lived in Ghana, and another person friend who was in Paris who can access the digital archive, and it's just amazing,
It is.
And so we have now 70 universities, our HBCUs like Howard and Morgan and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Texas Southern, but we also have Research One institutions like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and even places like the University of Oregon and the University of Alaska Anchorage. So we just this week have been giving out fellowships for use of the digital archive, and it's just amazing what people are starting to
the
do.
people who are stepping forward. I know, Juliana, I am so glad that we got you from Chicago to talk with us, and we hope we'll do this again. As we are closing, we always ask our guests to finish the statement, the power and the strength of Black America lies in. What is that, in a few words to you? Where is that power?
It lies in our history, and if we embrace it, others will see our brilliance.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us. Please go to our website and the History Makers website to learn more about it. You can access so many of the written biographies and stories, and also, the videos as well from the Library of Congress. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do. And to our audience out there, thank you for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we will see you the next time.